Why we don't see things as they truly are. A Buddhist perspective. Why we misperceive the world. The brain's illusion of reality. Have you ever spent several minutes looking for your glasses, only to realize they were already on your head? Or searched for your phone while it was literally in your hand? We laugh at ourselves in those moments, but they point to something far deeper than forgetfulness. They show us that seeing is not as simple as opening our eyes. Your eyes didn't fail. Light still traveled from the object into your retina. What failed was something subtler: attention, perception, meaning. Your mind was stuck in the idea, the phone is lost. So even when the truth was right in front of you, you didn't see it. This isn't just a funny quirk of human psychology. It's a crack in the illusion we live by. Most of us assume we see the world clearly, as it truly is. But modern science says otherwise. According to neuroscientist Anil Seth, we're all hallucinating all the time. When we agree about our hallucinations, we call it reality. His point isn't that we're imagining things randomly. He means the brain doesn't passively receive data. It actively constructs experience. Based on memories, beliefs, and past patterns, it predicts what's out there, then updates those predictions using raw sensory input. What you experience as reality is actually your brain's best guess. It's not just theory. We can experience it firsthand. Take optical illusions. A still image can seem to move. Identical lines can look completely different. Or think of that viral dress. Was it blue and black, or white and gold? The photo didn't change, but different assumptions led to different perceptions. Same light, same eyes, different inner filters. This isn't limited to visual tricks. It's how we navigate life. If you're anxious, a neutral comment can sound like a threat. If you're in love, the same words might feel like warmth. The world doesn't shift, but our minds do. And with it, so does everything we see. Philosophy has long echoed this idea. Plato's allegory of the cave imagined people watching shadows on a wall, mistaking them for reality, never realizing they were only reflections. The Jewish Talmud puts it more simply. We don't see things as they are. We see them as we are. And that, right there, is the turning point. Because it's not just our eyes that are unreliable. It's our whole mental world. The mind constantly filters, edits, and reinterprets, not to deceive us, but to help us survive. Still, the cost is high. We begin to mistake the filtered version for the full truth. We think we're seeing the world clearly, but in truth, we're looking through tinted glass. This is not a flaw of individuals. It's a universal condition. Even 2,500 years ago, the Buddha observed, "Blind is the world. Few are those who truly see." And he wasn't speaking about physical vision. He was pointing to this subtle blindness of perception, a blindness we rarely even notice. So before we can speak about truth, wisdom, or freedom, we have to ask something more basic. Are we truly seeing it all? The roots of distortion: how the mind mislabels reality. If the world we perceive is shaped by the mind, then what exactly is warping the lens? According to the Buddha, it begins with one simple but devastating mistake: avidya, a word in Pali that's often translated as ignorance. But it's not the ignorance of lacking information. It's the kind that doesn't even realize it's there. Avidya is like wearing tinted glasses from birth and never knowing they're coloring everything you see. It's the quiet assumption that what we experience is the full truth, that our reactions are justified, that our labels are accurate, that our view is the only one. And because we never question it, we stay trapped in it. This blindness is not vague. It has structure. The Buddha described it in the first link of dependent origination, a chain of conditions that keeps suffering alive. From this root, 4 powerful distortions of reality emerge, known as vipallasa. We see what is impermanent as permanent. We see what is unsatisfactory as pleasurable. We see what is not self as a solid I. And we see what is unattractive as beautiful. These aren't abstract ideas. They're happening all the time. And one of the fastest tools our mind uses to create these distortions is something called sanya, usually translated as perception or recognition. To understand it fully, we need to zoom out for a moment. In Buddhist teachings, the thing we normally call a self is actually just a combination of 5 aggregates, or khandhas. These are rupa, the body or form; vedana, feeling, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral; sanya, perception or recognition; sankhara, mental formations, intentions, habits; vijnana, consciousness. These 5 constantly shifting processes create the illusion of a stable me. And among them, sanya plays a unique role. It's the mind's label maker. When you see a red, round object, sanya doesn't just record its shape. It immediately identifies it. Apple. That's useful. Recognition helps us survive, but it rarely stops at the surface. The mind keeps layering. It's a sweet apple. It reminds me of childhood. It's part of my healthy lifestyle. It's better than that other one. Each layer adds meaning, and soon, we're no longer seeing the apple. We're seeing our history, our cravings, our opinions. The problem isn't the labeling itself. It's that we forget we're doing it, and we believe the label more than the thing. The Buddha once told the story of a monk walking at dusk. He saw a coiled shape on the path and was seized with fear. It's a snake! But when someone brought a lamp, it was just a rope. His fear was real. The snake wasn't. It was a projection, a story the mind wrote in an instant. Not because it's foolish, but because it's conditioned to react that way. How many times a day do we do the same? A pause in conversation feels like rejection. A glance becomes judgment. A delay becomes failure. We rarely see what's really there. We see what we think is there. And then we suffer for it. But no illusion is more persistent than the idea of a self. We don't just think thoughts. We claim them. We don't just feel pain. We say my pain. We don't just hear praise. We think I am great. This subtle process is driven by something the Buddha called mana, conceit, or more deeply, the I maker. It's the function of the mind that inserts me and mine into every corner of experience. Even when nothing needs to be personalized, it quietly rewrites the script to center the self. This is how the idea of I is constructed, not by one thought, but by millions of tiny insertions, moment to moment. And once that I is in the picture, everything else bends around it. We don't see clearly anymore. We see in relation to ourselves. What we like, what we fear, what we want to protect. The tragedy is not just that the mind distorts. It's that we believe the distortion is reality. And so, the cycle continues. When science meets the path, two roads to the same insight. It's easy to assume that the Buddha's teachings belong to the distant past, to quiet temples, ancient texts, and the inner world of meditation. But today, something remarkable is happening. Some of the Buddha's deepest insights are being rediscovered in places that seem completely unrelated. In neuroscience labs, in philosophy classrooms, in brain imaging machines. Take the predictive processing model in modern neuroscience. It describes the brain not as a passive receiver of data, but as a dynamic prediction engine. The brain constantly generates mental models based on past experience, then updates them when new sensory input arrives. It's a continuous loop of expectation and correction. And this, astonishingly, mirrors what Buddhism has long called sankhara, the mental formations, habits, and conditionings that shape how we experience the world. In both views, we don't see the world as it is. We see what the mind expects to see. Not reality, but a simulation, a projection conditioned by memory, fear, and desire. And these echoes aren't limited to science. Some of the greatest minds in Western philosophy wrestled with the same puzzle. In the 18th century, Immanuel Kant argued that we can never know the thing in itself, the raw reality behind our senses. We only ever know phenomena, the world as it appears, structured by the mind's own filters of space, time, and causality. Our experience is never of reality directly, but of reality as processed through the structures of consciousness. Then came David Hume, who searched for a self and found none. When he looked within, he didn't find a single unified I. What he found was a flowing stream of impressions, sights, sounds, sensations, thoughts, always changing, never solid. In his words, the self was just a bundle of perceptions. Without ever encountering Buddhist texts, Hume arrived at a view strikingly close to the Buddha's teaching of anatta, not self. No unchanging core, just processes in flux. But here is where the two traditions part ways. Science and philosophy often stop at description. They tell us what the mind is doing. But the Buddha wasn't interested in mere explanation. His concern was freedom, liberation, how to end suffering. A neuroscientist might tell you that the sense of self is an illusion created by the brain. A Buddhist practitioner asks, if that's true, then why suffer over it? Why cling to it at all? This is the turning point. Where science maps the structure, Dharma offers direction. Science says, this is what the mind does. Buddhism asks, and what will you do now that you see it? It's not a rejection of science, far from it. In fact, the convergence of these two traditions gives us something powerful, a shared confidence that we're not imagining this. That the illusions of perception, self, and permanence are not just poetic metaphors, but deeply embedded features of human consciousness, now confirmed through both introspection and imaging machines. But only one of these roads points beyond the illusion. Because the Buddha didn't stop at the insight that the world is distorted. He walked the path that frees us from the distortion itself. The practice of clear seeing, waking up from the mind's dream. So far, we've explored how the mind shapes our reality, how perception is filtered, distorted, and often mistaken. But what now? If illusion is the diagnosis, then what is the path toward clarity? The Buddha didn't just leave us with abstract philosophy. He offered something infinitely more powerful, a practice, a way of training the mind to see clearly, moment by moment. It's not a quick fix. It's not dramatic. But it is quietly radical. One day, a man named Bahia came to the Buddha, desperate to understand the truth. And the Buddha gave him a teaching so direct, so precise, that it has echoed for centuries. He taught, "In the seen, there will be only the seen. In the heard, only the heard. In the sensed, only the sensed. In the cognized, only the cognized. When for you there is no you in connection with that, then you will have reached the end of suffering." This is not poetry. It's the essence of mindfulness. It means seeing what's here without immediately wrapping it in stories, judgments, or identity. Just this sound, just this shape, just this feeling, as it is. Let's try right now. Look around you. Find one object, a cup, a plant, the light on the wall. And for a moment, drop the label. Forget the word. Just see the colors, the textures, the edges of light and shadow, as if you've never seen it before. Now listen. Not for a specific sound, not to name it. Just to receive. Vibration, sensation, raw and unfiltered. That moment, brief as it is what the Buddha called clear seeing. To cultivate this clarity over time is the path of vipassana, or insight meditation. Through mindful attention to the breath, the body, the senses, and the mind, we begin to notice a truth deeper than any theory. Everything arises and passes away. Sensations shift. Thoughts appear and vanish. Emotions come like weather and leave the same way. This is not something you believe. It's something you start to feel. With enough practice, something begins to change. You no longer think impermanence. You experience it. You no longer argue about selfhood. You see that thoughts arise without a thinker. Emotions unfold without a controller. The sense of a fixed me starts to loosen, not through denial, but through direct observation. And yet, this practice doesn't make us detached or cold. That's a common fear. In truth, it does the opposite. When we remove the filter of ego, the need to protect, control, or defend a self, what we see more clearly is each other. We begin to notice that others too are hurting, that they too are chasing happiness, avoiding pain, trying to be seen and loved. Without the me lens, compassion becomes effortless. As a Zen teacher once put it, "When I removed the me lens, I could finally see you, and see that you and I were never two." This kind of seeing doesn't make us passive. It makes us wise. Instead of reacting blindly, from old wounds, habits, or fears, we start to respond with balance, with care, with freedom. And it doesn't require hours of meditation to begin. Here are 3 simple ways to bring this practice into your day. The mindful pause. Once or twice a day, just stop. 1 breath. Ask yourself, what am I seeing, hearing, feeling right now? Not to judge, just to know. That knowing is mindfulness. Gentle labeling. When a strong emotion arises, name it softly. Anger, anger, or fear, fear. Not to push it away, but to hold it gently, the way you'd hold a cup of hot tea. This creates space between the emotion and the reaction. Question your certainty, especially when you feel absolutely right about someone or something. Pause. Ask, Is it possible I'm not seeing this clearly? What might my own mind be adding to the picture? These small practices are not small at all. They are cracks in the shell of illusion. Because the journey of awakening doesn't begin with fireworks. It begins with one moment of honesty, one breath of presence, one glimpse of reality without the veil. With every step, we polish the lens. With every moment of clarity, we untangle a thread of delusion. And slowly, the world becomes less something we control and more something we meet, directly, freshly, with eyes open. We begin to realize that the freedom we've been searching for is not elsewhere. It was always here, just hidden beneath the noise. And when the veil finally lifts, we don't lose anything real. We only lose the stories that kept us afraid. What remains is life itself, unfiltered, unnamed, undivided, and quietly, profoundly free.